Good afternoon, everybody. My name is JV Galan, and together with my groupmates Beverly Constantino, Bea Valencia, and Marvin Villanueva, we present to you a case study of memory loss in Oakenshire Hill. Without further ado, let us start.
The town of Oakenshire Hill has 50 residents, which in the past 3 months, a disturbing amount of memory loss incidents have occurred in the town and was associated with the amount of draft consumed by the residents. Houses in this town can be divided into groups by the establishment of quadrants, which led this study to employ stratified random sampling as the sampling technique, with each quadrant serving as a stratum. Stratified random sampling provides greater precision than simple random sampling, which leads to the requirement of a smaller number of samples than the latter. A total of 25 samples were chosen to be part of the study. Statistical analyses in this study include the multiple regression analysis and the analysis of variance or ANOVA. Multiple regression analysis was used to predict the value of the dependent variable based on the value of two or more independent variables. Meanwhile, ANOVA was used to determine if two or more groups have means that are significantly different from one another. Before the conduct of the statistical tests, preliminaries were first conducted for each one. General objectives for this study include the identification of the relationship between the number of 8-ounce cups of nth draft consumed per day to the number of memory loss episodes in 1 month. It also includes the identification of variables that have a significant effect on the number of 8-ounce cups of nth draft consumed by residents per day. Specific objectives include the conduct of descriptive statistics, conduct of preliminaries for multiple regression analysis and ANOVA, conduct of multiple regression analysis, measurement of frequencies, conduct of ANOVA, and lastly, the conduct of Tukey's HSD.
Let us now proceed to the methods. The case study was conducted by getting 25 samples from the 50 members of the population. This was done by stratified random sampling via separation of locations into quadrants. A wheel of names was used to get 6 participants from all quadrants except quadrant 2, which has 7, to complete the sample size target. To find the best predictor among the variables and drought consumed per day, pipeweed smoked per day, caffeine consumption, and alcohol consumption that would best explain the dependent variable, which is the number of episodes of temporary memory loss for the past month, multiple regression was done. All preliminary steps were completed before conducting the test proper. One-way ANOVA was done next to assess if other variables shown on the slide has a significant effect to the best predictor found in the multiple regression testing. Preliminary steps to test for any violations in the assumption for one-way ANOVA was done prior to testing proper. The variables which yielded a significant value were further analyzed with Tukey's post hoc test. To finish, all of the results were interpreted accordingly.
Let us now go to the results.
Prior to multiple regression testing of variables, the descriptive statistics of the independent variables were reported. All of the assumptions for the test, such as appropriate sample size, absence of outliers, normality, linearity, homozygosity, and independence of residuals, as well as absence of multicollinearity, were all satisfied.
A multiple regression was run to predict the possibility of memory loss from cups of 8-ounce and drought consumed per day, pipeweed smoked per day, caffeine consumption, and the consumption of other alcoholic beverages. The results of the regression indicated that the model explained 49.4% of the variance and that the model was a significant predictor of episodes of temporary memory loss, with a p-value of 0.001 as we can see here in tables 5 and 6. Now you may ask, why is it 49.4% and not 57.9%? Well, according to Pallant 2007, considering the small sample size, the adjusted R-squared value is reported instead of the R-squared value to prevent overestimation of the true value in the population. Moving on in Table 4, we can see that only the cups of 8-ounce and draught consumed per day contributed significantly to the model, with a b-value of 1.710 and a p-value of 0.05, to be exact 0.000, while the other mentioned variables did not. Furthermore, the cups of 8 ounce ant draught consumed per day had a strong positive correlation with episodes of temporary memory loss, R equals to 0.742.
The measures of frequency of the independent variables were reported before one-way ANOVA testing proper. Also, all of the assumptions for the test like ratio or interval level of measurement of dependent variable, random sampling, independence of observations, normality of distribution, and homogeneity of variance were all achieved.
In this part, the results from conducting one-way ANOVA to study the effects of several factors to the consumption of 8-ounce entered by the citizens of Oakenshaw Hill per day will be discussed. It will be found out whether significant differences exist within certain groups formed belonging each of these independent variables. Presented in this slide are the null hypothesis for this test stating that all groups of a certain factor have equal means. There is a significant effect brought about by their civil status and BMI on their consumption of entrat at 95% confidence interval. Both p-value are less than 0.05. The null hypothesis is therefore rejected, hence all civil status and BMI groups don't have equal means. For the remaining factors, no sufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis because their significance is greater than 0.05. Effect size is also computed as eta squared. This can be calculated by employing the formula presented in this slide. Based on Cohen's classification, we can conclude that both civil status and BMI have large effect in their consumption of entrat. 55.64% and 37.15% of the total variances in consumption of the said drink is associated with them being in the different groups under civil status and BMI respectively. Since it is still kind of vague whether which group exactly under civil status and BMI contributed directly to the citizens' consumption of entrat per day, post-hoc was conducted. Yes, we found out that these variables are attributable to their consumption. However, there is the need to dig deeper, and to do that, Tukes-Anna's significant difference test was employed. Through this, we will know which group is significantly different from which other groups via comparing all possible pairs of means. The null hypothesis generally tells that there is no difference between this specific pair of means. For groups under civil status, the widows and their widowers is significantly higher than the singles and the marrieds, with both comparison having a significance of less than 0.05. However, when it comes to the single and married citizens, there is no enough evidence for us to reject the null hypothesis of no difference. For groups under BMI, the only difference that mattered is that of between the underweight and the obese class 1, where the underweight group is significantly higher than the obese class 1, as the pair has a p-value of less than 0.05. Presented before you are the other possible pairings which yielded non-significant results, as their significance is greater than 0.05, which led to having no sufficient evidence to reject their respective null hypothesis of no difference.
To conclude, the number of 8-ounce cups of entraft consumed by residents has a significant effect on the number of memory loss episodes in the community. To further support this, the number of entraft cups that residents consume also has a strong positive correlation with the number of memory loss episodes. Along with this, civil status and BMI affect entraft consumption. Based on these findings, the number of memory loss episodes in the community may be remedied through the regulation of entraft consumption. Since the civil status and BMI of residents greatly affect their consumption of entraft, it is recommended that the regional health ministry focus on programs that prevent drink consumption through these means, hence lowering the episodes of memory loss in the community. Additionally, the health ministry may also look into decreasing entraft distribution in the area altogether.
Once again, this has been JV Galan, and together with my groupmates Beverly Constantino, Bea Valencia, and Marvin Villanueva, this has been our presentation of memory loss in Oakenshaw Hill. We thank you for your time, and we hope that you've learned something from our presentation.